주네? 뭐야 이거?
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just gonna start at the beginning, with the house.
할게.
Someone had put up a chain link fence, but it looked like I wasn't the first person to hop it.
시프트가 확대, 오른쪽 버튼도 확대고. 어떻게 하는 거지? 나 이거 무슨 게임인지 모르겠는데? 달리는 키가 뭐야?
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
집에 있는 방들 중에 절반에 들어가지 못해. 맞아, 이거.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago. Marked
이렇게 하는
urgent.
거야? 이렇게 눌러서?
Open immediately.
나 잠 못 봤는데?
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
나는 장례식 후에 돌아오지 않았지.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
뭐 어떻게 하라고? 뭐 어떻게 하라고?
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
이 자막 너무 빨리 없어지는데 나 읽기 전에. 사슴이다. 나 일로 가라는 것 같은데.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
나 이 집 상속받은
But now
거야?
I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
야, 이거 공부 게임이야?
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it. As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
집이 두렵대. 뭔 개소리야 이게. 어디로 가라는 거지? 왜 이렇게 들어가?
Prowling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11. The power had been turned off the night we left.
힐링 게임 아닌 것 같은데.
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
이거 잠깐만요. 달리는 키는 없나? 달리는 키?
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
지하실로 가지 말래.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house after it sank.
자막이 뭔가 의미가 있는 건가? 다 읽어야 되나?
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. Instead of a family, there were just memories of one.
뭐 분위기가 이상한데? 분위기 싸한데?
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
이쪽이라는 것 같은데.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
지금 뭐 해야 되는 건데? 이거 뭐 하는 거야?
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of. The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
이거 힐링 게임이야, 그냥 힐링 게임?
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Louis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
이건가? 이거네?
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
뭐야 이거?
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
엄마가 뚫어야 돼. 이유를 알아보시겠네.
From the paintings on the wall,
게임이지?
it's clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
접고.
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
뭐야?
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting. I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here.
뭔가 해야 되는 건가? 뭐 해야 돼 여기서? 이거.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner.
과거
I woke
들어왔다.
up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
뭐야? 먹던 거 먹는 거야? 이것도 리틀 나이트메어 그런 건가? 나가기 전 화장실에 들렸다가
I kept eating and eating.
치약도 먹어? 치약도 먹네?
I ate a lot of things that night.
근데 그 어렸을 때 치약 먹는 애들 있어. 막 딸기 맛 나는 치약 있죠. 막 그런 거 먹는 애들 있어. 나도 봤어.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her,
일로 못 나가나?
and suddenly,
뭐야? 고양이 됐다.
I was a cat.
어? 뭐야 이게?
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
뭐야 이게?
I jumped and I almost got her.
약간 꿈 같은 데 들어온 거 같고?
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up,
잡았어.
and suddenly I was an owl.
어?
First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
나 올빼미 뜯다는데? 뭘 찾는 건가 여기서?
Rabbits.
오! 잡았어.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons.
먹는다.
I
먹는다.
swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
이상한데? 이거 힐링 게임 맞아?
A mama rabbit.
잡았다.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
이렇게 갑자기? 상어가 육지에서 이렇게 굴러다닌다고? 뭐야 이거? 아 이거 뭐 어떡하라고 육지에서. 야 이게
I
무슨
rolled off the
상어야?
cliff and into the ocean. Now,
뭐야?
I was hungrier than ever.
이거 잠수 못하나 잠수? 이렇게 해야 되나?
I wanted fat, juicy seals.
이거 컨트롤이 어려워 상어.
I
냠냠.
tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
됐지. 물개 보신 분? 물개 보신 분? 일단
Grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my
Whoa.
eyes, everything had changed.
뱀 됐다 뱀. 뱀인가? 문어인가 뱀인가 이게 뭐야 이게?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet.
뭐야?
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
야, 꿈이 괴상한데? 서로 사람 먹은 거 같아.
Passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled
이거
something
힐링 게임 맞아?
something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
힐링 게임 아닌 거 같은데?
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
뭐야, 번개 타고 들어오잖아 이거.
I got closer and closer.
이거 아까 내가 했던 방 아니야?
All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything.
뭐야 이게?
I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
뭔 개소리야?
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
잠겨있나 아직도? 열려있네 이제는.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune. And misfortune.
뭐야 이게? 계속 보고 있으면 되나 이렇게? 뭐야? 저 사진에 뭐 있는 거 같은데? 여기 얘만 깜빡했는데? 이거 뭐 어떡하라고 이거? 아, 안 넘겨져. 아무것도 안 되는데 키가? 이렇게 하면 또 나가지고. 아, 여기
Lewis died a week
그림이다.
before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
아, 안 넘겨진다니까.
When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
뭐야 이건 또?
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
이것도 열쇠로 열리나? 열리네? 이거 만능 열쇠야? 이것도 그럼 또
There's a
옛날로
secret in
돌아가겠네?
this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
우와! 신기해.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
문제 없지? 야, 부금이 음산한데?
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind,
과거로 돌아간다.
that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did.
반동을
At
이용해야지
Barbara's
멀리 멀리 갈 수
we
있다고.
swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always
타보신 분들 다
wanted
아실
to
거예요.
fly.
Sam, Calvin, dinner's ready. Coming.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
얘 나만 부셔지는 거 아니야?
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe
오!
he'd still be here. But I doubt it.
이거 읽어보세요.
I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
오호호호호호. 돈다! 돈다!
The day he made up his
뭐야,
mind.
뭐야, 뭐야, 뭐야.
And he did.
이거 맞았어? 이거 맞아?
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
이게 그러니까 과거에 여기 살았던 사람들 약간 연대기 그런 거 보는 건가 계속?
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
뭐야 이건? 와, 친구주가 이래? 거의 하울의 움직이는 성.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
나는 누구야 나는? 내 연대기는 없나? 다시 처음으로 돌아온 것 같은데? 이런 데 살면은 더
Growing up,
복잡하겠는데?
I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
이거 뭐야 이건?
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
와 집이 되게 신기한데? 진짜. 뭐가 남았나 본데? 왜 자꾸 일로 나가라 그러지?
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
또 이것도 과거로 넘어가겠네?
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most
자막 안 나오는데?
unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
나이가 차면 후퇴하지.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box.
돌려.
She listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
야! 소리 이상한데?
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago
야
tonight.
이거 뭐가 좀 마음에 안 들어. 아 싸움 잘한다.
Finch rattled and grew still.
나 싸움 잘한다. 야! 내려! 그렇지.
Oh!
아이씨.
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.